Okay, so let's go ahead and learn about constructing linear functions, lesson 5.3. You will be able to write linear functions from graphs, from tables, and verbal descriptions by finding the rate of change and the initial value. Very important stuff. Now, we've dealt with y equals mx, which is our direct variation, and y equals mx plus b, which is our graphing using slope-intercept. Don't forget our slope is also our rate of change. When we have a direct variation using our slope, we know that it goes through the origin. Our line goes through the origin and it adjusts based on what our rate happens to be in terms of what direction the line goes in. When you're looking at your graph, however, when we look at our graph, we know that we have y equals mx plus b. The b is our y-intercept. That's our b. Yes? And I always tell you right at 0b. Whatever that number happens to be at 0 and. So our y-intercept is always on the y-axis. In this case here, it's also for our word problems especially, it's our initial value, or our starting point. They call it the initial value. So in the word problems, let's say initial value or deposit. So it's always initial value. And then we do our rise over our run. Okay? It's our rise, which is our vertical movements. It's also our y. Over our run, which is our horizontal movements, which is also our x. It's always y over x. Remember, I write, you write. This all better be on your papers. So now, when I have my vertical over my horizontal, and don't forget the horizontal line, if I draw a horizontal line, it has 0 for its slope, and our vertical line has an undefined slope, and I don't know, maybe you want to remember that, because horizontal has a 0 in my spelling, so it's always a 0 slope, and then the vertical line, well, maybe SUV, because it's vertical line, it's undefined, it has undefined slope, maybe that's how you remember it, I don't know. But anyways, we're going to deal with this type of a problem where I have a line. This is my line here. I'm going to have my rate of change that I'll use, and I'll need my initial value in order to give us an equation. We're going to give you a graph. You have to give us the equation. So let's take a look at this problem here. I already got it all highlighted out, written out. Okay. So we can construct a function just by finding out what the slope and the rate of change is. So if I'm looking at this particular function, my initial value is the number that's on the y-axis. My initial value is 100. So in this case, my b is going to be 100, or 0, 100. But what's my rate going to be? What's my rate of change? Well, I'm going up 300 and to the right 4, up 300 to the right 4. So it's going to be, my rise is 300 up, and my run is 4 to the right. So it's 300 over 4, or when I simplify it, it's 75. So I have my b, which is 75, and I have my my b, which is 100, and my b, which is 75. I could put that into my equation. Y equals mx plus b. Now, if you had 300 over 4, that's fine, but you have to simplify it to 75. So you have y equals 75 x plus 100, and the 100 is my initial starting point. We'll skip over this next problem because it looks stupid to me. Okay, so let's go ahead and check. We'll do the check right here on our own. Actually, I lied. We'll do it together. With this check, a conference center charges an initial deposit, plus an hourly rate for renting the space for an event or party. The total cost of the different numbers is shown. Okay. So if I look at this here, here's my total cost. It goes up by 50s. And hours are by singles, no biggie. So I'm going to go ahead and make my first little slope triangle. When I do that, I go from 1 up to 300. So I have 100 to 300, and from 1 to 300, and then I'm going to go all over to 9. It looks like 9 and 300, okay? So I have that triangle to work with. So my rate of change, so I have 300 minus 100, which should be 200. Yes, it is. And then I'm going to have 9 minus 1, which is 8. 200 divided by 8 is 25. And that's my rate of change. Okay. Now, and I just did it for a couple other ordered pairs too that was on there just to double check and make sure. I got 25 a couple times. Always use the y sub 2 minus y sub 1, which is my rise or my run, which is my y movement divided by my x, whatever that ratio is. Okay. My initial deposit is 75. So I'm looking right here, somewhere between 50 and 100. That's going to be 75. So my initial deposit is 75. So my B is 0.75. That's where I get that from. I found my rate of change to be 25. So I just put in all the information I have back into the equation. for y equals mx plus b, y goes to y, equal sign. My m is my 25, and there's my x, and there's my b, whatever that b happens to be. It's increasing up. Okay, that's why it's a positive slope. And I'm at here for my 75. That's where you get the 75 from. Okay, and I'm watching the Bear game right now, and they're killing me. They're losing. So guess what the phrase that pays is? The Bears need to get an offense. That is the phrase that pays. Arg. Okay, next page. Now, sometimes they'll give you a table. They'll give you a table, and you need to find out what the, and this is a little bit challenging, what the equation is going to be. So, the cost of amusement park and the membership, okay, number of months. Okay, here we go. So essentially what I would recommend doing is always using the change in y over the change in x, or y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. That's the way I think would be the simplest way to go about doing it. This is x, that's y, this is x sub 2, this is y sub 2. Okay, here we go. So 50 minus 35 over 2 minus 1, and 50 minus 35, if I count back, it should be 15. Okay, 15 over 1. And if you just make sure these two guys here, this is minus 15, or plus 15, right? This is plus 1. Okay, so it's 15 over 1. I agree, I got it in two different spots. So my m is going to be 15. But really, there's no easy way to find my b right now. I don't see a 0. There's no 0 answer. Now I have to find the b. This is where I have to be detective. Be a detective. I have a formula. I have my slope. I have no b. I do not know what my b is. But I have an x. I do. I have an x. I have 4 of them, actually. I have a y. You want to use the same x that goes to the same y and x. I use that same pair. So when I do this, I could now find my b, because, as you know, it's all on the same line. So my b is 20. So now, I bet you if I were to graph this, this would all be in the same line. So if I could put this back in, here's my original formula. Go back to the general formula. The general one, here's my slope over here. Yes? Can you see this whole thing? Oh boy, that was cheesy. Sorry about that, guys. That was a really cheesy way. I thought you guys saw the whole thing. Hopefully you saw the whole thing. That would suck. Okay, so y equals to 20. Here's my m is 15. So 15 times x plus 20. So let's just write it. I don't know why I did that with the parentheses. And then you're good. That's a lot. That is a lot. Let's try this one. Oh, they didn't give us another one? Okay, let me find another problem for you. Hang on one second. Okay, hopefully I told you again, the Bears need to find an offense. They're killing me. Okay, here we go. The Bears need to find an offense. That's the phrase that pays. All right. This is another example that we'll be able to use. Here's the table. The table shows how much money Ava saved. Assume the relationship between the two quantities is linear. Find and interpret the rate of change and the initial value, then write the equation. Okay, so we need to get to this. Y equals mx plus b. Now if I'm going up, I'm looking at this table right here. It's going up by 20 each time. This is going up by 1. So I'm going to say our rate of change is 20 over run. 20 over 1. 20 over run. But we don't have a rate of change. So let's go ahead and find that. So I'm going to use this to find this. I'm a detective. I'll be able to find that because I'm using that. Okay, so any y, it doesn't matter. Let's use this guy right here. Why not? I don't know. 170 equals 20 times 6 plus b. 170 equals 120 plus b. Subtract 120 from both sides. So I think that's my b. That's my y-intercept. So now I have y equals mx plus b. I have my b now. I have my m. That gives me a general form, a general equation of a line for this particular table over here. And we're good. Go ahead and do the check on your own. And now let's go ahead and do the verbal. Okay, I'll do this really quick. So you could write an equation from the function in that form as well, as long as I give you the information. Okay, m is our slope, and b is our y-intercept. So the instructor charges an initial fee plus $30 per hour. Tasha paid $205 for 6 hours of instruction? What? Okay, so I have my y equals mx plus b. I have y equals sign, what's my rate? $30 per hour. And, oh, hang on a second. $205, that's not my b. But I have my 6 hours. Okay, hang on. X is almost always our time, right? Hang on. Y is going to be not time. In this case, Y is going to be dollars. So we know we have 6 hours and 205. Okay, so I have an order pair of 6 and 205. Okay, now let's go. Does that make sense to you? I need an X and a Y. I need an X and a Y. I know time is on the X axis. Time is almost always going to be on my horizontal axis, and that means dollars on the other side. We have 6 hours here, $205. Let's put in what we know. And solve. Press pause. Okay, so hopefully you ran the numbers and got 25 equals b. Now put in what you know. We know that 30 is our slope, our b is our y-intercept, and what this is saying is if I have 6 hours and 205, I'm paying $205, I paid a $25 initial fee. And let's go back and check our work. If I put 6 back in there, 6 times 30 is 180. Okay, it does work. That is a point on the line. This makes sense. Okay, so it does work. So my equation is y equals 30x plus 25. So if I wanted to go ahead and figure out, you know, what happens with, 4 hours, how much would I pay if x was 4, what would y be? I could put that in there. I could put that in and figure that out. 120 plus 25, so it'd be 145. Is that right? 4 times 30 is 120 plus 25, 145. That's how much money I would spend for 4 hours. Okay, let's turn the page. We'll press pause here. Okay, so this problem here, Joan plans to add 12 photos to her photo album each week. After 8 weeks, there are 120 photos in the album. Now, here they have to actually get to the question. Find and interpret the rate of change. I need to know the rate of change and initial value. Then write an equation. Okay, so I write an equation where x is the number of weeks, of course that's time, and y is the total number of photos. Okay, so now what's missing? I need to find my rate of change. Well, we're 12 photos per week, so my m is going to be 12. Okay, my m is going to be 12. Then it says after 8 weeks, if I like to draw a little, graph, this is my weeks. Okay, this is my, not weeks, this is photos. So after 8 weeks, there's 120. So I have 8 and 120. That's my x and y. So that's what I'm going to use for my formula. So now I'm going to put that back in. Y equals mx plus b. Y is 120. M is 12. X is 8. I don't know my b. We have no idea. Okay, find out what that is. Okay, this is going to be a little bit tougher. We have to do one more step with this one. Julia is tracking the growth of a plant for a science project. The height of the plant on the second day, she measures 8 inches. So second day is 8 inches. So this is going to be time. And this is going to be height. Okay, it's in inches. On the 7th day, it was 20.5 inches. Oh, decimals. Okay, get out your calculators, guys. Get out your calculators. Assume the relationship is linear. Okay, assume the relationship is linear. Oh, sorry, you guys can't see what I'm doing. .m, you're being a dork. Okay. So it's second day, 8 inches. 7th day, 20.5 inches. Calculators out. They didn't give us a slope. Find the slope. Use your calculators right now. Find the slope. I'll press pause. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1. X sub 2 minus x sub 1. You should have m equals 2.5. M equals 2.5. You found your slope. Now you have to go back and find your b. Put that back in. I might get cut off here. I'll use this as my ordered pair for finding the b. 8 equals 2.5, which is our slope. times 2 plus b. So I have to put this order pair back in to find the b. I do solve it. B equals 3. So I got my b equal to 3. I got my slope equal to this. Y equals 2.5x plus 3. Okay, I've reached my time limit. Somehow I got to go over. And that is all. Yay.